The Eagle Eye Podcast presented by Nissan. He's Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. We have a bunch of stuff to get to. All questions coming in. They're coming in online. We have some questions that'll come here from the fans in attendance. We have the band out here getting loud.
It's not the band. It's the drum line.
The drum line. Thank you, Reuben. We see some cheerleaders
drum line
out here.
You guys need some keyboards in there.
Yeah, we get you in there, I think. This is a lot of fun, and big game tomorrow, obviously.
There's actually more people here than will be at State Farm Stadium tomorrow.
I think that's probably true. I feel like this might look like State Farm Stadium tomorrow.
This might be State Farm Stadium tomorrow.
It might be. So start sending those questions in. We have Ashley Hall around here somewhere to answer some questions. But before we get to those, Rube, we'll kind of wait for those to roll in a little bit. Your impressions of the week. It's been kind of a long week. We've been out here since last Saturday. I live here now. I'm an Arizona resident.
Dave's getting his mail at the Hyatt.
I am.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a wild week. You know, the last Super Bowl in Minneapolis, you didn't have anything because it was minus 800 degrees. You go outside and you have frostbite within 30 seconds. There was no outdoor presence of the Super Bowl, so it never really felt festive or anything like that. You know, you might see some Eagles fans in the Mall of America, but there's just so much life outside here now with Eagles fans taking over the city. It's been really exciting to see, and a far cry from Minneapolis.
It is. It's been nice to be.
And even Jacksonville didn't really have that because Jacksonville, everything's so spread out. There's no real downtown back in 04. So I don't know what it was like in 60, but
you sure? Those 49.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy out in LA in 49. We all took the train out there. But this is really and look, it's been a special week. It's been a fun week, and can't wait to go tomorrow.
I can't either. We have some questions rolling in. Ashley, I hear you have one for us.
Yep, we have Luke from Fishtown over here.
Hey, what's going on?
Yeah, Fishtown.
My question is, which Batman will have a bigger impact tomorrow, Skinny or Swole? Let's go, Eagle!
I don't know. Fat Batman might have a big day, too. They need Jason Kelsey to have a big one. What do you think, Rube, between Skinny and Swole Batman?
Yeah, we were actually talking about this on the other podcast. I mean, I really think Devontae Smith's going to have a huge game. I just feel like there's going to be a matchup there that the Eagles can really exploit. And, you know, you look at Devontae over the second half of the season, he got off to a slow start. It wasn't that he wasn't playing well. He just wasn't getting opportunities. But the second half of the season, the top 3 receivers in the NFL the last 10 weeks are Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith. So he's really been A.J.'s equal over the last 8 or 9 weeks. I think he's going to have a huge game.
Yeah, Jalen Watson can't cover.
I don't believe that.
And, you know, if you have L'Jarius Sneed following A.J. Brown, which he told me he's not going to do that, I'm not buying that. I think that's their best matchup for A.J. Brown is Sneed. So if you have Watson on Devontae, he can't cover him. He just can't. Devontae can be a high-volume usage guy in this game. The out's always going to be there. Hitch is always going to be there. I think they'll try to get A.J. the ball, and they should. He has a chance to – I still feel good about that matchup, too. It's not like I'm saying Sneed's going to shut him down, but the most favorable one for sure is Devontae Smith.
Yeah, and, you know, it's funny. We're talking about Devontae Smith. He's in his second year, and we're talking about expectations in a Super Bowl, but he's that good, and he's really taken it to another level. Difficult catches, tremendous body control. We know he's got great hands, and just a physical player now. I mean, that's been the biggest surprise about Devontae. Is just his ability to be a physical receiver as a really skinny Batman.
Yeah, and the thing we know about him is he does not shy away from big games. He's always been a big game monster. I hear Ashley has another question for us. What do you got for us, Ash?
What strategy will the Eagles employ tomorrow to try to contain Travis Kelce?
Yeah, it's a good question. Kelsey's obviously their high-volume guy. They don't have Tyreek Hill anymore. That offense has really changed without Tyreek Hill. They used to have a lot of big plays in that offense. They don't have it anymore. I mean, Patrick Mahomes has done a really nice job. He's become a really efficient passer, and that's worked for them. It's kind of scary that they lost Tyreek Hill, and they're a better offense than they were before. I think there are going to be times where they kind of bracket Travis. I don't think they're going to double him a whole lot. It's kind of rare to really double a player. And not that he's not worthy of it, but I think that you kind of hamstring yourself a little bit defensively if you really double him on a ton of plays. So I think they're going to play zone. That's what you have to do against Mahomes, and I think you bracket him. You help out a little bit. And if their game plan, talking about the Chiefs, is to nickel and dime you up and down the field, and they do it with Travis Kelce, I think the Eagles are going to be okay with that, honestly, because you just don't want the big plays. That's what you try to avoid with this offense, and you just try to eventually force them into a mistake.
Yeah, and I think the corollary to that is they have to tackle well, because Travis Kelce is going to catch. He's going to catch 10, 12 passes tomorrow. You go in knowing that's going to happen, but if you can limit those to 6 or 7 yards instead of 13 or 14, and keep them short of the sticks, you're going to be in pretty good shape. He's going to get his catches. You're not going to deny him. He's going to be open. It's just kind of, you got to avoid. I think they've been better tackling certainly than they were last year. They've been up and down this year, but I think lately they've been pretty good. I think that, you talk about TJ, you're talking about Kaiser, going to have to really tackle well. Everybody, all of them, Epps, the whole group, because if you don't, you're in trouble.
Yeah, the yards after catch from that Chiefs offense is pretty crazy. They have to limit that. All right, I'm going to take one question here from the online chat from Terry Hill. Do you think Hurts will have a big running game in the Super Bowl?
I kind of do.
Okay.
I kind of feel
what's a big running game, though?
200 plus.
Okay.
No, I really believe that Jalen, I feel like the days of limiting him and restricting him and holding him back because of the shoulder, that's over. Look, there's nothing there's nothing left after this. So I think we're going to get the full Jalen Hurts experience tomorrow, I believe. And that means I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the 70-yard range as far as rushing. I think no quarterback's ever had more than 67 yards.
In the Super Bowl? I think it's 64, Steve McNair.
Well, no one's had more than 67 either.
Yeah,
so I wasn't wrong.
You weren't wrong.
So, yeah, I really think that we're going to see the full gamut of his abilities. And that means taking off in some big runs and, running around and making plays like we saw before the Chicago game.
Yeah, and I don't even think it necessarily means it's all scripted. I think Steve Spagnuolo is going to blitz him, and there are going to be opportunities for him to take off and run. And I think he has to find that balance. You never want to see him just put his head down the second he sees pressure and take off. But there are going to be opportunities for him in this game to get some yards on the ground, and I think he'll do it.
Agree.
All right, Ashley, I hear you have another question for us.
Yeah, Ash.
What do you got?
All right, guys. We have Russ with another fan question. Come on up, Russ. What you got?
Yeah, so, we know that Andy abandons the run if it doesn't go off early successfully. Do you think that Nick will abandon the run if they don't have success early, or do you think they'll stick with it like they did against San Fran?
Well, Shane Steichen, in the middle of the season, there were a couple games where he did get away from it. I thought prematurely, but the way they've run the ball lately, I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, 88 carries the last 2 games to get here. Now, the circumstances are obviously different. They were up big and they were running out the clock, but they really like where the running game is now with Miles and Gainwell and a little Boston Scott in there. And I think they're gonna really try to establish it. I don't think they're going to abandon it. And Big Red doesn't really. I mean, he still doesn't run a ton, but I think the days of Big Red abandoning the run when it's going well, he doesn't really do that anymore. He likes Pacheco. Pacheco's been getting some carries, and they throw to the back. So I do think the running game is going to be a big part of what the Eagles do, and we'll see with Big Red.
Yeah, I really want to see it if Steichen sticks with it when like the flow of the game. Is it going to be? If the Chiefs get an early lead, which is possible, they can go down and score a touchdown. Will he then continue to run with the football? Because I think there is something to be said for playing keep away from Patrick Mahomes because he's such a good player. I think you have to do that within reason. I don't think you necessarily alter your game plan. You don't want to become a shell of your offense. You got to try to score points. But there's something to the idea of establishing drives, keeping Mahomes off the field, and that can be running the football, that can be a short passing game, but whatever you have to do, I think that there is some validity in that too.
Yeah, I do think that you can run on the Chiefs, and the Chiefs' best run defense has really been their offense. When they get up 24-7, teams obviously stop running against them, but they've given up 6 yards per carry in the postseason. It's the highest ever by a team reaching the Super Bowl. So you can run on them. I think it was 4. They gave up 4.5 per carry during the regular season. So as long as you're in the game, it makes sense to hammer it on the ground.
All right, I'm going to go to a question here in the online chat from Oates. How many sacks does Hassan Reddick get in this game.
From Oaks?
From Oats.
That's where that convention center is, right?
I don't know.
They have all the big shows there. Oaks?
Is that right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's a convention center. I think it's probably a human, but could be.
What was I forgot the question. I was
How many
excited
sacks
to hear from
will
Oaks.
Hassan Reddick have? He has
How many sacks?
19 and a half in 19 games this year.
Yeah, he's already got the most by an Eagle in any one postseason. Eagles haven't had a ton of sacks in the postseason until this year. Man, I think working against Wiley, who's not a great player, he's a tough kid, but I think he's gonna have a big day. I'm gonna go 2.5, Dave.
2.5.
I'm gonna go 2.5.
I mean, if he's 2.5, you might be saying his name in that MVP conversation.
Could be.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
2.5 is pretty significant. You're right. I think he has a really advantageous matchup against Wiley. Kind of curious to see what the Chiefs do if they start to really help on that side. Even just putting the tight end out there, changing the route a little bit, it would be wise, because if they just try to block him one-on-one with Wiley, it's going to be a long day for that fella.
The Eagles only have 2 sacks in their 2 Super Bowls. Now, the 80 Super Bowl was before sacks, 2 years before sacks became a stat. They only had one unofficially in that game, Dennis Harrison, but they only had one in 04. That was Derek Burgess, and they had one in 2017. I forget who had it. Might have been Brandon Graham.
Might have been. All right, Ashley, ready for the next question?
We have another fan question from Doug from Phoenix. What you got, Doug?
Hey, out of Sweat, Hargrave, and Reddick, who leads the team in sacks tomorrow, and who gets the first one?
You got to throw BG in there too, right?
Yeah, you can throw BG in. Well, Rube, if you have Reddick with 2.5, I don't think anyone's getting 3.
I might have Sweat with 3.5.
I think Sweat has a chance in this game too. I think if you look at the Chiefs' offensive line, they're so good in the middle, both guards and their center. So they're weaker on the outside. I think Orlando Brown is kind of ripe for the picking for Josh Sweat. I think he can beat him. And I don't think Sweat's crazy, because if Reddick gets the extra attention, and he's warranted that, he's been so good all year, then you have the one-on-one on the other side with Josh Sweat and Brown. I would take that. I think Sweaty's in the mix.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And, I did a story, actually was posted today on our website, NBC Sports Philadelphia, about the group rush is what they believe in, and how unselfish they all are, and, how they really get a kick out of getting 2 guys to the quarterback, not just 1 guy, but 2, 3 guys to the quarterback. He's got nowhere to go, and it doesn't even matter who gets the sack as long as one of them does.
All right, I'm going to go back to the online chat here from RW Swope 87. Do you expect the Chiefs to use a fast offense and avoid using no huddle after converting first downs? Or, okay, that will be their best shot to tire out the Eagles' pass rush and not allow them to get subs in.
So are they going to go no huddle to keep the same Eagles defensive lineman on the field?
Yeah, what do you think there?
No, I don't think so, because you can't go no huddle more than situationally, because if you go 3 and out, now you're asking your defense to come back on the field after like 3 minutes in real time. So he might go some no huddle, but the Eagles are going to be able to get fresh guys on the field. There's going to be ways to do it. So I don't think that's going to be a strategic thing for Big Red. He might throw in some no huddle here and there, but not because of that.
Yeah, and the Eagles, that's their strength though, and they can change up on other drives,
right?
And that's where they've won so many times this year, is that they have so many defensive linemen, and they rotate those guys through. And by the fourth quarter, they're pretty fresh, and they get to attack a little bit. Let me take one more here on the online chat, and then we'll go back to Ashley. So the next question here from Mike Butts: have you ever seen a player on the Eagles as focused as Jalen Hurts?
Yes.
Who would that be?
I thought in 1980, Stan Walters was really focused. No, look, for a 24-year-old kid, it's been really remarkable to watch Jalen's composure this week and just how comfortable he is with everything swirling around him. You really feel like he's ready for whatever happens. And I really believe Jalen has the outlook like there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of distractions. He's here to play a football game, and I think that's the only thing that's really on his mind. I think he has that rare ability to kind of cut through all this and just say, you know what, it's a Sunday football game against the Kansas City Chiefs, and let's focus on their defense. And I think that's where he is, and I think it's a great place for a young quarterback.
Yeah, and really that's what makes a great player, is in these moments they treat it like a normal game, and that's kind of what Nick Sirianni said a couple weeks ago. I actually asked him about like what does it take for a player to show up in a big moment, and his answer was basically that they don't treat it like a big moment. I think that's really easy to say, and everyone will say it, but it's a little rarer to actually do it. And it's Jalen has that in his DNA. We've seen that time and time again, and I've been really impressed by it.
Yeah.
Ashley, I hear you have another one for us. What do you got?
All right, guys, we got Rich all the way from Haddonfield with an amazing outfit, I might say. Rich, what's your question?
My question is, what is the only weakness the Eagles have for tomorrow?
Weakness, Rube. What do you got?
Positionally, I don't think there really is a weakness on this team. If you're looking for anything, I would have said, maybe their linebackers a month ago because Kaiser White wasn't playing great, although TJ's had a really consistent year, hasn't made the splash plays. But I think Kaiser's played better over the last, 4 to 6 weeks or so. So the matchup with Kelsey, if those guys are responsible at times on them, it's a little scary just because it's scary against anyone. But I don't think they really have a weakness. And if they do, I haven't seen it yet. I mean, they were 14-1 under Jalen. And the only reason they lost that one game was turnovers. So maybe turnovers is their weakness. When they commit 4 of them, they lose.
Yeah, maybe. I think if I had to pick one, I would say the middle of the defense with the linebackers and with Avonte Maddox dealing with that toe injury. We saw Marcus Valdez-Scantling. Man, I had trouble getting that out. MVS.
Just go MVS.
We saw him in the slot in the AFC Championship game. That's where he really made some hay. So you're a little worried about Avonte on that toe and just how healthy he's going to be. And then
you want to be strong up the middle like they say in baseball, right?
Yeah, you kind of do. And I guess, and if you're looking at it, it's a relative weakness. I don't think it's like an overall weakness, but if you're looking at their 2 corners outside, I mean, that's an obvious strength with Bradbury and Slay. And if you're the Chiefs, you go, well, let's try to attack the middle of the field. And what they do so well with Travis Kelce when they're facing zone defenses, and you have to play zone against Mahomes because if you play man, he'll crush you. They just find ways to get him open and find the weak spot in zone defenses. And Gannon's defense has been really good, and the zone defense has been really good all year, but that's what the Chiefs do really well. So if I had to pick a weakness, I think that would be one. But like you said, I don't think there's like an overwhelming weakness on this team. All right, Ashley, we're ready for another one.
Okay, Francis, my favorite person at this party so far, has a question for you guys.
Who's going to get more rushing yards, Miles Sanders or Kenny Gainwell? That's my question.
Thank you, man. That's a great question.
It's a great question, and I got Kenny Gainwell as the MVP. That's my.
You're going out on a limb now.
I'm picking him as the MVP, and I'm actually an MVP voter. So I might fix the.
Reuben already turned in his ballot.
I turned in my Gainwell ballot. It's a great question because one game it could be Miles, one game it could be Kenny, and they're really 1A and 1B right now. And the Eagles are still kind of saying, well, Kenny's a situational third down guy, he's 2-minute drill guy, but he's more than that right now. His numbers have gone from 4.5 touches a game to 14.5 in the postseason.
Yeah.
And look, some of that's a product of the way the games have gone, but I think he's a real weapon right now. And it has not taken anything away from Miles because he's been really, really good too. So I could see them both in that, in that same range of 13 to 15 touches. Whoever's got the hands, Shane Steichen's going to go with them.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm going to go Miles on this. I still think he's going to get the bulk of the work, especially just strictly handoffs. And if they're running their read game, I think he's the better option there. Yeah. Look, if you're talking touches and you're talking overall yards, I think Gainwell has an opportunity to catch the ball out of the backfield. He does that obviously better than Miles. But if we're talking strictly rushing yards, I think the extra week with that knee injury for Miles Sanders is going to help quite a bit. And look, I don't want to take anything away from Gainwell because what he's done has been really impressive. He calls himself Playoff Kenny now, and I am on board with that nickname. But, I think Miles Sanders is still their lead back.
Dave's going out on a limb and picking the Pro Bowl running back who had 1,200 yards.
Yeah, I'm not going to – I don't want to go out on a limb. I want to be right, and I think that's the best chance.
It's certainly possible, right. Yeah.
All right, I have another question here on the chat. John Salama got a couple friends in the audience. He says, "Go Birds, see you fellas."
John
And
Salama's
gals.
friends. What's up?
Question: do the Eagles have to win the time of possession game to win the game?
Great question.
I think it would help. I don't think they have to.
I don't think they have to because I think they can hit some deep balls, and so you can have a 3-play minute 22-second drive and get 7 points out of it. It would certainly help. I mean the last 2 games they've had 35 and 37 minutes at time of possession. They've actually had the ball in these 2 playoff games 26 minutes more than the Giants and Niners. So if they play ball control, if they're able to control it on the ground, I could see the number being up there. And look, let's be honest, the Chiefs can strike fast too, but I don't think it's imperative, but it would certainly help.
Yeah, and I look at it, the way they're going to play this defensively is say, okay, beat us on long drives. And we saw this last year, and the difference was the Eagles didn't have enough talent on defense to get the ball back. And Patrick Mahomes said, okay, I'll beat you this way. And he went up and down the field on them. I don't think that's going to be the case this time, but there are probably going to be some long drives. And I don't think they're going to keep them off the board. So if they do score and the Chiefs have these long drives, I think in a way that's ideal. And look, you're asking your defense to be on the field a long time, and you're worried about that. But if you're preventing those big plays, I don't think you're going to stop this offense on every single possession. So there are probably going to be some long drives that are, 14 plays, take up 7 minutes. Not ideal, but the alternative is they just throw quick strikes and beat you over the top. And that's one thing Gannon is just not going to let happen.
No, I agree. And I do think that with the way they rotate the D linemen, they'll be okay if that does happen. If they have to be on the field 33, 34 minutes, I mean, they go so deep up front, and you don't worry about the other guys playing, a bunch of times. So I think they'll be okay there.
This is not a question. This is from Dash the Six. He says he considers this a takeoff pod and not an Eagle Eye pod. He expects a daily pod later. I will say no chance. We got to get some sleep at some point this week. We have Ashley. All right, Ashley, another fan question from the audience here.
All right, Joe has a big fan question. What you got, Joe?
Are the Eagles getting the all-time sack record tomorrow?
Oh,
this is up Rube's alley here.
Yeah, what are they at? 75? And I think
they're at 78.
They're 78 and the record's 82.
82, yeah.
84 Bears. And then they're third. And then I think
the 85 had 80.
Right? No, I thought it was the 89 Vikings. But yeah, they're 4 off the record. It's a great question. I'm going to say yes. I mean, I got Haas with 2.5.
Yeah,
so
I backed yourself into a corner.
I only need 1.5 more sacks. They're 1.5 from the record now. So I think with I'll give Sweat 1 and maybe Zach McPherson will get sack the punter again, and then I think 4 sacks is a reasonable thing. And I don't know Mahomes' ankle. Andy says he's fine. It's not going to be a factor, but that's a high ankle sprain, and I'll be surprised if he's got all the mobility. And he's used to running around and trying to extend plays and. The way this D line is playing, I think 4 is a reasonable thing to expect. And I'll tell you what, if they get 4 sacks, they're not losing this game.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, if you're saying 4, that's significant against this quarterback who isn't Jalen Hurts, but he moves around really well. He avoids pressure. So if you're sacking him 4+ times, that means the ankle probably isn't right. That means he doesn't have the escapability. And you mentioned it earlier, the way this team rushes and waves, if he's escaping on a hobbled leg, then the other wave is coming and sacking him. I mean, that's going to make it really tough on the Chiefs offense. And yeah, if they get 4, man, that's crazy. I also, I was on the radio yesterday. I called a Hassan Reddick strip sack. I think that's going to happen. Because he is so good when he gets close to the ball. I really like that. I have a fan question here online I'm going to go to from Jason Reese. James Bradbury held Travis Kelce under 30 yards and no touchdowns with the Giants last year. What are the chances we see Bradbury on Kelce? Now, that's an interesting question. If they were to devote a cornerback to Travis Kelce, I think Bradbury would be the guy in that case.
You're not going to put Slay on him.
Yeah, what do you think?
I'm sure there'll be moments where he's on him.
If Travis Kelce lines up outside, which he does on occasion, I don't think they'll have their outside corners move inside to deal with Travis Kelce. That's not their strength. But let's talk about Travis Kelce a little bit while we're on the topic. How do you think they'd handle Travis? Like who's on him in this game?
Yeah, I just think it's gonna. I think you have to change it up. I think you have to. Some of it's going to depend where he lines up, down in distance, the score. I just think so much is going to go into it, and I don't think it's going to be any one guy. I don't think you can just pick a guy and say you're responsible for Kelsey. I think it's going to change depending on where he lines up, what the situation is. I think it's going to take a village, Dave, honestly.
Yeah, and we'll see that. I think CJ might have an opportunity too. All right, Ashley, I hear you have another one for us out there somewhere.
All right, gang. Our next fan question comes from Caddy.
Hi, how do we stop Mahomes tomorrow?
That's a good question. I don't know if you can stop Patrick Mahomes. I think the object here is to slow him down a little bit.
Well, whoever just yelled sack him, I mean, that's true. If you can pressure him, and I think they can, if you can pressure him, you have a chance, and I really believe they can. I think the Chiefs' O-line is okay. I don't think it's a bad O-line, especially in the middle and the interior, but I really believe Sweat and Reddick and BG can pressure him. And if you don't, it's over. Like, honestly, if you don't get any pressure on Pat Mahomes, he'll stand back there and pick you apart. But there hasn't been one quarterback this year that's been the case. Davis Webb was like, I'm not going to let them sack me no matter what. I'll throw it into the 700 levels. That's one thing. But I really believe if they pressure him, they'll be in good shape.
Yeah, and I think it's also when you pressure him and you hope he makes some mistakes. And then on the back end, and this is going to sound really obvious, you have to make him pay for that. I mean, you can't drop interceptions. And we've seen at times, especially the second half of the year, they've had opportunities to pick off some passes and didn't do it. In this game, if you have a chance to pick off Patrick Mahomes, you have to do it. You have to make those plays on the back end. You can't give him a second chance.
Yeah, there's going to be one opportunity maybe to get a pick off him. And whoever it is, whether it's TJ or Epps or Bradbury or Slay, they've got to take advantage of that opportunity because you might not get another one.
Yeah, they were talking last week about bad ball drills. And Nick Sirianni was actually kind of ragging on his defensive backs coaches, saying they don't have any other option. They throw ducks up there, and the DBs have to get used to them. But that helps. And just being aware of that, those tip drills that they do, all of that stuff, and it's focused too. I mean, you have to just be aware that one of those plays can completely change this game.
Nissan just made your choice for a new car an easier one than ever with their most exciting and fuel-efficient lineup. The choice is yours. Now get great offers across Nissan's full line. Shop your local Nissan store today at nissanusa.com.
It's time to rush to new rewards at Rivers Casino. Now there's a whole new way for you to earn, redeem, and level up your rewards. Get your new Rush Rewards card and get more out of your game at Rivers Casino, Philadelphia. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Opioid addiction is a national public health crisis. The Someone You Know podcast from the Independence Blue Cross Foundation offers inspiring stories that challenge stigma, offer hope, and humanize the disease of addiction. Download the new Season 3 of Someone You Know on all major podcast platforms. On Sunday, guys, don't forget, we're going to start off on NBC 10, 9:30, Eagles game day kickoff, 10 a.m. Eagles game plan, and then on NBC Sports Philadelphia, 4 p.m., Birds Huddle game day, 4:30, pregame live, after the game, Eagles postgame live, and then back on NBC 10, 11:35, Eagles game day final. All right, we have some more questions rolling in here from Ashley out in the crowd. Ashley, what do you got?
All right, our next fan question comes from Julia. Julia, what do you got for the guys?
Which receiver is going to get the most yards tomorrow?
Rube, I think are we still firm on Devontae Smith?
No,
here?
I'm going A.J. Brown now.
Going A.J. Brown.
That way, whoever has more, I'm right. No, I do think Devontae's going to have a big game, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's in that like 90 to 110 range. I really think he's going to be huge.
What do you think about Quez? And we haven't talked about Quez in a really long time. We saw his snaps kind of dwindle late in the season, but with all this attention the Chiefs are going to have to pay to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, is there any chance that Quez has a big play over the top?
Yeah, it really, since that Dallas game, he's been pretty quiet. But I think against that defense, you take a shot. They might be a little skittish about Quez because he's obviously got out-muscled for a couple balls that turned into Minshew picks, and he had that really bad fumble. But he's such a weapon. He's so fast, and he generally catches the ball really well. He's a guy that can beat you over the top. I think they would take a couple shots with Quez tomorrow.
Yeah, that'd be fun. And he's got a rookie on him, a good rookie, Trent McDuffie. But there's a bunch of rookies in that secondary. I think the Eagles have a chance to make some plays with. All right, I'm going to go back to the online chat here. Stephen Graham, how many interceptions? Key to the game. Yes, Stephen, that's the key to the game. And I think turnovers in a game that should be very close is always going to be a big key.
I think the Eagles get one pick, and I think it's Slay. I think Slay gets a pick in the fourth quarter.
I like this. I'm going to write these down and see what actually happens during the game. I think that's a good one. I think Avonte Maddox has a chance because I think there's going to be some tipped balls in the middle of the field, and he's always been really good at scooping balls off the ground if they're kind of fluttering through the air. I think he has an opportunity tomorrow. We're really backing ourselves in the corners with some of these predictions.
Kind of like Cravon in that Saints playoff game. Drew Brees' first pass.
Yeah, I mean, I think
that's surprise slot corner interception. I like it.
Yeah, all right. I have an online question here from Alex. Which Chiefs running back should the Eagles be more concerned with tomorrow? And that's a fair question because Pacheco has been really good, but McKinnon out of the backfield as a receiver is dangerous, especially in the red zone.
Yeah, and McKinnon's the guy. I would answer McKinnon just because I like Pacheco, and obviously he's a South Jersey kid, the 5th South Jersey running back to play in a Super Bowl, along with Franco, Isaac Redmond from Paulsboro, Corey Clement from Glassboro, and who's the other one? Can't remember at the moment, but I will. But
I'm laughing because you told me that list like 10 times this week, and every time you forget one of them.
And it's always a different
one each time. And you can tell how much I'm listening because I haven't been able to help you at one of those times.
No, it's true. But yeah, I really. Oh, you know who it was? It was I forgot again. So yeah, I think that McKinnon in the screen game, he's such a good receiver. And, the Eagles are going to be really aggressive. The Chiefs are really good running screens. Andy loves running that Green Bay screen that he got from Holmgren, that Pasqualoni got from Reed, that Donovan started throwing to Westbrook. So I would say him. I don't think Pacheco is going to have a big game, but I'd be wary of McKinnon.
I'm kind of with you there. Do you think we see a shovel pass?
Oh, yeah. We're going to see – yeah. Andy on that stage, we're going to see stuff that nobody's ever seen before. They might parachute.
Oh, we've seen that before.
Yeah,
we've
that's
seen
true.
that a million times before.
We might see 11 guys parachute onto the field and run a play for the Chiefs. I don't know if that would be legal, but if it is, Andy will do it.
I bet you they won't be running around in circles like they did a few weeks ago.
You never know.
You never know.
Might see the Chiefs run the Philly special.
Oh, gosh, what a slap in the face that would be. What do you think, Nick? We haven't talked about trick plays, and it always comes up because the Philly special, obviously. But to me, that obviously takes guts to call it in that moment on a 4th down in the Super Bowl. But that's why, if you have a trick play, you unleash it in a big game. That part never surprised me as much. We haven't seen the Eagles run a ton of trick plays this year.
And somebody asked Shane that a few weeks ago, and I answered for him. I said they haven't needed to, but now they need to because in this game, you got to pull out all the stops. I like the fact that they haven't needed to run any trick plays, and they haven't. So they got a bunch of them in their back pocket. I watched the Philly special about 20 times today because I was doing that top 10 Super Bowl plays. Mm-hmm. And 2 things really stuck out on that play that I hadn't noticed before. Number one, when Trey Burton gets rid of the ball, Nick is already wide open. And you see Trey Burton triumphantly raise his arms. The ball still hasn't even reached the apex of its parabola. And I don't know what that means. And the other thing is how well Nick sells it he just stands there motionless for a second as right when Corey flips it to Trey. And then Nick just takes off. And by then, the Patriots didn't even they weren't even accounting for Nick. I mean, they ran that play exquisitely. They couldn't have run it any better. It was a masterpiece. But anyway, I think we'll see something.
Yeah, I had some question on Twitter because Greg Ward was elevated for this game. Do you think Greg Ward will be involved in a trick play? Now, that will be tough because if he's on the field, I think there's going to be some alert the Chiefs put out there that, okay, they have a guy out here who hasn't played all year. He's a former college quarterback. Maybe watch him getting the ball to throw it.
Yeah, I think he's elevated in case Covey can't go for punt returns. But that pass was the only pass Trey Burton ever threw in his career.
And he had a mental block. He couldn't do it again, which is a shame for him. But Reuben, as we kind of wind this down a little bit, give me some overall thoughts on this game. It feels like we've been getting ready for about 2 years at this point. What's your take on it, and what do you think the Eagles need to do to win it?
I think my biggest takeaway of the week is just I feel like the Eagles are really, really prepared on both sides of the football. I feel like they have a young second-year coach who'd never been a head coach on any level before last year, who's really on top of things and has handled this week beautifully. I think he's handled the media really well, which is, interesting considering 25 months ago what his presser was. It just shows you how important that was, not at all. And a young quarterback who is so comfortable in any situation. When you have that, it trickles down to the rest of the team and the coaching staff. And I think this team is so just in the right place mentally, and that allows you to play at your best. It allows you to do what you're able to do physically when you're not tight, you're not worried about the moment, you're not caught up in the stakes. And I think that's where they are. I think if they lose, they just weren't the better team tomorrow. But I really believe that they're so ready for this game, and they're going to play well.
They are the better team, and that's what strikes me the most is, when the Eagles won their first Super Bowl, it was very fitting that they were underdogs that entire season, and going into the playoffs, no one really believed they could do it. That was fitting. That was like the right script for the first Super Bowl in franchise history. That is not this script. This script is they've been a great team all year. They've been the best team in the league all year. They're the better team entering the Super Bowl, and they're more talented than the last time they were in this game. So I look at it, and I like that script for this team, because in a way it's harder to do that. It's harder to be the favorite. It's harder to win when everyone expects you to win. And that's what this team has done all year. And there have been opportunities for them to tell everyone that no one thinks they can do it. But they don't need to do that anymore. They were a ragtag bunch in a way in 17. That's not this team. This team has been dominant all year. They've been a better team in just about every game they've played, and that doesn't mean they won them all, obviously, but they've been the better team in every game they've played, and they know that if they just play their game, they're going to win, and that's the feeling I have going into this one. They've been playing against themselves all year, and I don't know if it's any different, and that's not a shot at Kansas City. That's a very good team, great quarterback, all-time great. They're the better team, the Eagles.
Yeah, and I believe that if the offenses are even, and I think it's pretty much a push between the Eagles offense and the Chiefs offense, the Eagles defense is, I would say, significantly better than Chiefs defense. So I just think they have an advantage there. I think they have the more complete team. The Chiefs might have the two best players in the game. The Eagles might have the next 8.
That's the thing. I mean, you can look at the top-heavy Chiefs and go Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, Travis Kelce. And you could even argue those are the 3 best players in the game. I probably wouldn't, but you could argue that. But then if you go through the 15 best players in the game, how many of them are Eagles? It's a ton.
Yeah.
And even if you go position by position, how many positions do the Chiefs have?
The edge over the Eagles?
Yeah.
There's not a lot.
Yeah. I mean, quarterback, tight end by a little bit.
More than a little bit.
I don't know. I think it's closer than you think. Safety, probably.
That might be it.
Might be it. I mean, and that just tells you how stacked this roster is. There are a ton of decisions to figure out in the offseason, and no one's going to give a damn if they win this game.
That's for sure. And, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but this game is where, this game, if the Eagles win this game is where Hall of Famers are made, where all-timers are made, where legends are made. I mean, you say a name like Brandon Graham 20 years from now in this city, or Trey Burton, or any of those names, and you're talking about all-timers who had a role in one of the greatest performances we've ever seen, and tomorrow can go a long way for a lot of these guys.
Yeah,
doing the same thing.
Legacy defining.
It is. It's exciting.
Reuben.
It might be. This podcast might define our legacy.
It might. We've reached that time, and you know what's coming.
Prediction time?
We need prediction time here. Who do you have winning? What's the final score?
I got the Chiefs winning big. I'm going to say 49.
You're going to get taken out of here.
No, I really think the game's going to be played in the low 30s, and the Eagles are going to – I think it's going to be tied and somebody on the Eagles is going to make a big play. I think I said Slay on defense, Gainwell on offense in the last 5 minutes. Eagles win 34-31.
I'm along the same lines. I think that big play on defense is going to come from Hassan Reddick. I think it's going to be a strip sack, and I'm not saying it's going to come late in the game, but he's going to make that big play. It could come early. He's been a monster early in games. I'm going 31-28. I think the Eagles win it. I think it's not going to be a comfortable win. I think it's not going to be what we've seen in the divisional round of the NFC Championship game, but I think they get it done, and I think we're watching a parade this week coming up.
Same route?
Same route. I think they'll take the same route. It worked so well the last time. We want to thank Philly Sports Bar and Pub and Grill, out here in Tempe. We've had a blast. All the fans have been great. Thank you, Ashley, for getting us all those great questions. That's it. This has been a crazy week. Can't wait to get to the actual game. For Reuben, I'm Dave. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan. We'll talk to you soon.
greatest. Who am I? I'm so flagrant. Who am I? I'm so flagrant. Who am I? I'm the greatest. Who am I? I'm so flagrant. greatest. Who am I? I'm the greatest. Who am I? I'm so flagrant. Who am I? I'm so flagrant. Who am I? I'm the greatest. Who am I? I'm so flagrant. Who am I? I'm so flagrant. Who am I? I'm so flagrant. Who am I? I'm the greatest. Who am I? I'm so flagrant. greatest? Who am I? I'm so flagrant. Who am I? I'm the greatest. Who am I? I'm the greatest. Who am I? I'm so flagrant. Who am I? I'm the greatest. Who am I? I'm so flagrant. Who am I? I'm the greatest. Who am I? I'm so flagrant. Who am I? I'm the greatest. Who am I? I'm so flagrant. Who am I? I'm the greatest. Who am I? I'm so flagrant. Who am I? I'm the greatest. Who am I? I'm so flagrant. Who am I? I'm the greatest. Who am I? I'm so flagrant. Who am I? I'm the greatest. Who am I? I'm the greatest. Who am I? I'm so flagrant.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Scottsdale, Arizona.
What's up?
We are at Philly Sports Grill here in Scottsdale, Arizona. And look at all the Eagle fans. They have taken over Scottsdale, Arizona, and Phoenix, Arizona, and Glendale, Arizona. We got an Eagle chant.
Yes, yes, yes.
There
The
you
natives,
go.
The
It's a
natives
beautiful
are
thing.
restless.
They are.
The
Welcome,
natives are
everybody,
restless.
to the Takeoff podcast with John Clark, presented by Live Casino Hotel Philadelphia. And we have found the Eagles fans here in Arizona. They're taking over. We saw all of them getting on the planes at Philadelphia International Airport. I got to be honest. I mean, I'm seeing a lot more green than red out here in Arizona.
I said the natives are restless. That's because everywhere I go, I see Eagles fans. It's like we're native. We've taken over Arizona, baby. Let's go. Let's go.
I think what happens is if you come out early and you were out on last Saturday, we came out on Wednesday. You came out on Wednesday night. I think it starts to swell, gets all swole as we head toward the game, get closer to the game, and you see the fans really start to go nuts.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
and I tell you, like, every fan that we've come in contact with is basically saying, like, I'm feeling they're winning. Like, I'm feeling it. And they say, do you think they're winning? And we have all said, yeah, we're feeling it. Like, you really have a good vibe about this team.
You know what I'm saying? John, Mike, there's nothing wrong with being confident about a team being the best team in the NFL. See, our problem is we're not embracing what we really are. It's about damn time we start embracing that and understanding we are a great team, not a good team, but a great team. Great teams become great by the mindset, but then going out and do it on the field. And I think this Eagles team is going to do that.
And he just dropped a Lizzo lyric, a Lizzo
Yeah,
song.
very good.
What's Lizzo?
It's about damn time.
Okay.
It's about damn time. We're also taking your questions, so get in touch with us on our YouTube channel. We're going to take your questions here. We've got a lot of Eagles fans here. We're going to hear from them as well. And Barrett, we were talking on NBC 10 about the schedule, and the Eagles had a walkthrough today, finished up their on-field preparation. They had the practice yesterday, 2 days of practices. Barrett, when you look at what they did on the field, obviously they didn't do a ton on the field this week. They had a 2-hour practice, a 1-hour practice in the walkthroughs. Nick Sirianni has everybody healthy. He wants to keep them fresh.
Absolutely.
Apparently that has worked because they're going to have all starters, all 22 of them, ready to go in the Super Bowl.
I kind of realized that I did it the old school way and only played 12 years. If I'd have practiced like Nick Sirianni, my career,
You'd still
I'd probably played for 25 years. But what they're doing is working. I have never
25.
seen a team go in with all 22 starters on offense and defense going into the Super Bowl. This has never happened before. I have never seen a team this healthy. So I can say all I want to say. I could be that old man, get off my lawn. But what he's done is put this team in position to be dominant, number one, but number two, healthy.
Michael,
it's incredible.
Well,
Michael
here's the thing. As you well know, and I tell both of you, my kids call me Sad Dad. I'm like, the sun's getting, it's going down earlier now. There he is, Sad Dad. So it's me. I got to point out all this stuff. They're not playing nobody across the line from them. They got Patrick Mahomes, who is now the two-time MVP. They do have Travis Kelce. They do have a defense that, while it doesn't hold a candle to the Eagles, it's still an NFL defense that's pretty darn good. Chris Jones on the line and all that stuff. And, oh, by the way, they've got a future head coach, Hall of Famer in Andy Reid. And we all acknowledge that his experience in the postseason and in particular in the Super Bowl is not nothing. In fact, you said that when we talked earlier this week on our programs on NBC Sports Philadelphia. So that gives me pause. Do I still think the Eagles will win? Yes, but I think it's less than 6 points.
All right, so he's given the betting angle of it for anybody out there that's betting.
No, not a betting angle, not yet. That's on Sunday pregame.
But do you think the Eagles are the better team? Do you
Yes.
think they have overall
Yes.
the better roster?
Yes. I think Barrett, you back me up or not? I think they're better at every position except for quarterback, and that's a tie. And tight end, I'll give to Travis Kelce, but Dallas Goedert's pretty damn good.
Yeah, the margin between talent level is so small. You say what you want to say. Yes, Patrick Mahomes threw for over 5,000 yards. But did he have the amount of running touchdowns that Jalen Hurts did? Did he have the amount of rushing yards that Jalen Hurts? Does he have the mindset to make a defense wrong even though they think they're right? No, he doesn't have that mindset. I mean, Jalen Hurts is a NFL franchise quarterback that's pretty doggone good. Patrick Mahomes is also a quarterback that's pretty doggone good. Both guys facilitate what they are on the field, and they play well in those positions. There's not much difference in their skill level. There's not much difference. They just go about things a little bit differently on each team.
I'll tell you what, when the Eagles win tomorrow, and with the Green fans, the Green Legion in the house tomorrow, you're going to hear that MVP chant right in Patrick Mahomes' face, and they ain't going to be talking about him. They're going to be talking about Jalen Hurts.
And that's the amazing thing that Patrick Mahomes got the MVP for the season, but the last
Give me the
9
stat.
MVPs that have played in the Super Bowl, they have all lost. They have all lost. And the NFL's passing leader has never won a Super Bowl.
And I got another one for you. Going back to 1970, the last number of times that the MVP has played the runner-up for MVP in the Super Bowl, the runner-up has won each time.
Well, there you go.
Bingo.
The crowd is going to get fired up when they hear that. All right, we're going to
know that.
We're going to take questions from Eagles fans here during this podcast. We're going to be here for the next 30 to 40 minutes. So let's go over to Ashley right now. She's got an Eagles fan here at the Philly Sports Grill in Scottsdale, ready for a question.
All right, gang. Our first fan question comes from Joe. What you got, Joe?
What's up, Joe?
So how well do you think the Chiefs defense matches up against the Eagles offense?
Good question, Joe. Good question. Let's start with Barrett Brooks.
They don't match up well. They actually don't. When you look at this offense, you got to start with the basics, the offensive line. Trench warfare is where the game is won. Do they have enough to stop this Eagles offensive line? Come on, man. We're talking about a left-sided offensive line that weighs over 700 pounds. A 6'8", 360-pound offensive tackle. A 6'6", 350-pound offensive guard. Inertia alone, them coming off the ball, is going to push whoever's in front of them out the way. That's instantly getting 3 or 4 yards a pop. I don't care who's in front of them. You put a double team on Chris Jones, he's going about 10 yards down the field. They're just a better offensive line. We got the best center in football, the best tackle in football. Come on now. I mean, it's just they're great up front. And plus, when you look at what Jalen Hurts does, his ability to read the defense. They run the read option. They make them wrong every single time. They're going to read off Chris Jones. He comes up the field, they're going to hand it off to Miles Sanders up the middle. If he stays back and tries to cross his face, we're going to throw the little out route to A.J. Brown or Smitty. He's great at interpreting what the defense is trying to do to him and then taking advantage of it.
And then in short yardage situations, and especially on goal line, you got a guy in Jalen Hurts who squats, 600 pounds?
I don't know.
It's unbelievable. So I found it comical that they had Gardner Minshew when he was in there. He's on the 3. He's trying to push it forward like Jalen Hurts did. Nobody is Jalen Hurts. He can move that line. He can move his own offensive line. So you got that going for him, which is nice. And I also think that Dallas Goedert is going to be a problem for their defense.
Absolutely.
He's a pretty damn good tight end, and taking nothing away from Travis Kelce. But I think that's going to be – and then to the wide receivers, and then to the running backs. And by the way, Shane Steichen, the play caller, he's done a masterful job, especially on 4th down or 3rd and short in misdirection plays that get them big yardage.
Yeah.
So I like them.
Yeah.
I like that matchup.
And what I love about the Eagles and what they do on offense is they basically look at the numbers, and they're like, okay, we're going to see, defense, this is what you're going to allow us to do to you, and we're going to do that. We're not trying to make the big explosive play if it's not there. So I want to ask you guys, with the way the Eagles have run the ball and the push that the offensive line has gotten in the playoffs, I mean, they are mauling people in the offensive line. Do you think they will try to come out and establish the run, or do you think they're going to come out and try to throw the ball on the Chiefs at first?
Honestly, I think they're going to try to pass the ball simply because they got 2 rookies out there at the corner positions. And everybody knows that, you look at Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator, he wants to bring the blitz. He wants to pack everything in the inside and stop you from the middle. So why bump your head against the wall? Throw it out there to them big-time wide receivers, 2,000-yard wide receivers. One guy creates separation with the way he runs and separation his route running, and another guy just debo's a defensive back. The matches look too good out there with Smitty and Brown out there. It just looks too good.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I think they're real strong in that regard, and I think that they will. It sounds cliche, but they will give what the defense presents because they can do whatever they want. They really can, depending on Jalen Hurts' shoulder, certainly, and also depending on A.J. Brown's hamstring, which I think was tweaked over the last couple of weeks in the postseason. Hopefully that is healed enough to allow him to get down the field. He's got a lot of speed, not just a possession guy, but he can go get the ball, and he was overthrown twice. I don't know if Jalen Hurts thought he'd be somewhere where he couldn't get to, or Jalen Hurts just frankly overthrew the ball. But if everybody's up to snuff, they will be great.
And all things being equal, if the Eagles want to run the ball, they can run the ball on anybody at any time. They can always say that's an ace they got in their back pocket. If they want to run the ball, they can run the ball with a 10-man box. It doesn't matter how many people you put in the box. So they can do that. But why bump your head against the wall? Go ahead, throw it out to those receivers, big play receivers, game-breaking receivers.
Big play receivers.
But I will say during the playoffs, and since Jalen did hurt his sprained shoulder, it hasn't been the same downfield passing attack.
Right.
So do you think it'll be a little bit different? Maybe some A.J. Brown over the middle, use his size. Do you think it'll be a different type of passing attack instead of, like we saw against the Steelers and the Titans where you're dropping a dime into Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown?
Well, I'm going to tell you this. It doesn't matter right now because Jalen Hurts, he's going to bring out all the stops. He's going to get a little go-go juice in him, whatever it takes to make it stop hurting.
What's
but he's
go-go
going
juice?
out there. We call it Toradol, sting, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, John's
and you're
on
good.
That too.
You're good.
Yes.
John can't feel that. That's how he's on Toradol, man. No, but I think, remember 2005 and T.O.?
Yes.
And T.O. was sleeping in that
hyperbaric
chamber, a portable one he brought down to Jacksonville. I thought he should have gotten MVP even in a losing effort. I think Jalen Hurts, anything known to man, any medicine known to man, they are applying it to that quarterback, and I think he's going to be okay. That's just me.
They got Miyagi's son.
Miyagi! Wax on! Wax on!
Santa Claus. How about the Eagles' defensive line? Barrett, in your career, when you look out and see the Chicago Bears have the record, 4 more sacks, the 84-85 Bears have 4 more sacks in this Eagles defensive line. Do you think that the Eagles D-line gets the all-time record for most sacks in a season?
I do. And it's because the two tackles aren't playing at a high level. They're not playing very well at all. Wiley is going against the number 1 sack leader in the NFL right now, in Son Reddick. It's going to be a long day for him. And then you look on the other side with Brown. We've got Sweat and BG going against him. He's going to get a lot of people in his face. They're going to reach out and touch him a little bit. And I know those guys in the middle are going to press the pocket. And when they collapse the hole on Patrick Mahomes, that's when he gets nervous. That's when he's inaccurate. They know, Mike, you've been saying it all week. Whenever he's in the pocket, his passer rating is way less than when he's out there making those magician-type plays outside the pocket.
I made that up, though.
Never let the facts get in the way of the
That's right. We crafted the way we want
and
to.
really, I think having the rotation and basically 2 starting defensive lines in the NFL, I think this is the game and the NFC title game where it really shows up because Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham both told me they feel like they're halfway through a season. Brandon Graham said he feels like he's halfway through a season because the amount of snaps he's had, they're way down. He almost is the closer. He comes in. How bad do you feel as an offensive lineman when you have guys coming into the game in the fourth quarter who've had like 5, 8, 9 snaps? And they're coming after you. The linemen are tired by that time.
I mean, the offensive line is the only position that they don't rotate. You keep the same offensive line out there the entire game. And imagine having waves and waves of guys. All right, I've been going against Hassan Reddick so long. Oh, now I got to go against Sweat. Oh, now I got to go against BG. Oh, now they put Williams out. When are you guys going to stop putting guys out there? Robert Quinn comes out.
He's fresh.
The
they
mighty
just keep
Quinn.
going and going, keep going and going.
Yeah, all right, well, let's check in with Ashley once again.
Ashley.
More Eagles fans, they have a question for Barrett and Michael B.
Ashley set this whole
All right,
party
guys.
up, by the way.
Phil
Great
from
job.
Philly has our next fan question.
I would like to know how many rushing touchdowns the Eagles have this weekend after the drudging we did on the 49ers with 4 touchdowns on the ground.
That's a great question.
There you go.
69
That's a
total
record.
points
First
scored
by a
in
million.
those 2 playoff games.
Yeah.
How many rushing touchdowns will they have tomorrow? Oh, my goodness.
He's looking for an over-under. He's
Yeah.
looking for an over-under.
I think.
What do you think?
I think they're going to have, including Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
I think I think he'll rush for 2, and I think that you can tack on 2 or 3 more. That's just me. Barrett?
I mean,
that's a lot of points, by the way.
They've already had 3. They had 3 the first game, I think, 4 the second game, rushing touchdowns. They ran the ball 44 times in each of the last 2 playoffs games. So it would be a high number to think. It wouldn't be a high number to think that they might have 4 going into this week. I mean, the law of averages is they're going to do what they do best, and that's run the ball, especially when they get down on the goal line.
By the way, I see look
Oh,
at
my
this. We have-
goodness.
you see the guy is driving down the road in a Winnebago, and he's got a Batman. He's got a Batman mask over his face. Driving the Eagles Winnebago here, and it said "Hurts so good" on the side of it. Hopefully, he doesn't get pulled over.
Right,
He's got the Batman mask literally on his face. Can you imagine? Can you imagine going through a drive-through with that? Go up to order
Well,
some
first you
McDonald's
lose the
and
top
Burger
of the cab, but yeah. The whole thing's on the back
But
of
by
the
the
crowd.
way, I'm so impressed because A.J. Brown said we left all of the Batman, tape, mask, whatever, all that stuff back home. There's no games here. No fun and games. They are so serious.
Business trip.
The business trip. And it's amazing because Jalen Hurts at the age of 24, you've seen him in his press conferences all week. He's the same. It doesn't seem like a big moment. Devontae Smith is hardly leaving his hotel room. He puts his phone away. He doesn't turn on the TV. He sleeps. He's in darkness.
You think that's good? Do you think that?
Well,
I'm not
I
saying it's
think-
not, but it's not what they normally
Well,
do.
I think Skinny Batman is getting into
These kids
The
are
game mode.
Yeah, these kids are different than when I played.
Right.
Man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they do things different. Like I'm gonna admit, like the night before we went played in the Super Bowl, it was different because we'd have Gatorade in one cooler, then we have water in the other cooler, but then we have beer in the other cooler because we
Yeah.
had older guys, older veterans, and they needed something to help them sleep at night. So they'll go out and take 3 or 4 beers out the cooler, and they go drink the beer so they can go to sleep. These guys are different. They eat more bird fruit than I've ever seen, shakes, all that stuff. They
Smoothies.
prepare themselves differently than I did growing up.
Avocado.
Yeah, so I this is a part of them being as healthy as they are. That's why they are healthy. They're maximizing their bodies. They understand what they need to do to take it to the next level. I'm good with it. It doesn't work for me. I tried that smoothie stuff and eating
What do you
rabbit
do
food,
now?
bird food. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
I tried. I mean,
Reese's.
Yeah, Reese's. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you.
Do you
That's the only way
guys?
to do it.
When you do look at the experience factor, this is the second year of Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts together in this offense. We talked about Andy Reid. I mean, my goodness, 4 Super Bowls for Andy now. Patrick Mahomes, 3 in the last 4 years. Do you think if this game comes down to the fourth quarter and it is tied up, do you think that experience factor will be a big deal in this game?
I do. I do.
I
And
think so too.
Yeah, and I think if you have not been in that arena, and Barrett, you know this, you should speak to it first, actually, because you played in the Super Bowl. But they're games, and they're big games, and then there's the last game that you can possibly play with an entire world watching, and we're all human beings. I don't care how impervious we are to nervousness, etc. We're all human, even Jalen Hurts and even Nick Sirianni and the rest. So how much does that mean, do you think?
You know what? I'm going to say this. Yes, Andy Reid had a lot of experience in what he's done on the field, but it's the same thing to make you laugh, make you cry. And I say that like this. We know how much experience that Andy Reid has in these big type of games, but we also know what Andy Reid has done in game type situations, how he doesn't do well in clock management, how he's dropped the ball sometimes and been out coached during those times, throughout games. And if it is going to be a close game, I think that I would trust Nick Sirianni because he's prepared his guys to do those type of things. I mean, just a little thing as far as Devontae Smith understanding that he might have fumbled the ball a little bit on that long pass against the 49ers, and him instantly throwing it, ball his fist together, say, hey, get to the line, get to the line. We got to make sure that we get this snap ball so we can stay there. That's him totally out-coaching the 49ers coaches and making those guys aware and situational awareness to go out there and make sure they get on the line, snap the ball. Now they were there. That was a 4th down play.
Yeah.
And they made that happen. That just goes to show it's not all about how much experience they have. It's about in-time, in-game coaching ability.
I just think, John, that there are ebbs and flows in a game. And when the heat gets turned up, when you're watching a game, we're home watching a game. Well, we're never home watching a game.
Yeah.
You're watching a game, and it's a big situation, and your heart starts to race a little bit. Well, you don't think that they don't feel that on the field? Maybe they get more excited.
They don't have a Jalen Hurts, though. Jalen Hurts, always cool, calm, and collected.
Okay.
That's true. Hey, we got a couple questions
You're scared,
online.
get a dog.
We got a couple questions online. Wayne Miller, good question. Who is the surprise star for the Eagles tomorrow?
Great one.
I like that.
Great one.
I like that.
One of the two of you said it in
All right.
one of our earlier 1,500 programs, but one. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, because I'll tell you. Not surprised, but we're all talking about Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts. Who's the guy on the other side of the ball? Was it you or was it Barrett? Hassan Reddick. Hassan Reddick. I mean, he could be the Richard Dent of this game.
Yeah.
Richard Dent, 85 Bears.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he gets a good matchup sometimes on that side.
Against
And
Wiley.
Andrew Wiley. And he gives up a lot of pressure. And Jonathan Gannon has done a nice job. Sometimes you saw a couple times a little bit of a twist.
Yep.
Hassan Reddick, and you've seen the speed around the outside, but then a twist, and that really is tough for an offensive line.
Absolutely. You got to change direction. You got to push guys off. You got to switch the stunts off. it's really hard, But when you look at it, another matchup, another guy that we haven't talked about because he's just now becoming healthy, is CJGJ. He is due for a big game, And the reason I say he's going to have a big game is because he's going to be a lot of the times over the top of Kelsey. And you can only imagine, if Kazir White gets in front of the ball, tips the ball, and then turns around and, ball gets picked up in the air. There's nobody better right now going and getting those loose balls or those tip balls in the air than CJGJ.
I got another one for you. And you've talked about him all week. The guy who gains well, Kenny Gainwell. Yeah, I think he could have potentially more carries than Miles Sanders. We'll see. But he's had what, 26?
Yes.
Is it that right? 26 in the last 2 games?
Both he and Miles have the same amount of rushing attempts in the playoffs.
It's unbelievable.
Right
and Kenny became the first Eagles running back to go over 100 yards rushing since Brian Westbrook way back in 2007.
He couldn't play.
It's amazing. Just pop out another weapon for the playoffs.
Right.
All right, let's go over to Ashley. Another question from an Eagles fan here.
All right, gang. Our next fan question comes from JT. JT, what do you have for the crew?
Okay, so obviously Nick Sirianni got snubbed for head coach of the year. And I just wanted to ask, do you think that he should have been head coach of the year? Because I certainly do.
That's a good question.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. This guy took a team, a 9-8 last year that went to the playoffs barely by the hair of its chinny chin, and they lost in the first round. He put this team together this year with Howie Roseman's help, certainly, and he only won a franchise record 14 wins. That's pretty amazing. And we can say anything we want about the way he handled the team last year. The bottom line is winning, and that's what he did. So, yeah, I would have given it to him.
No question, man. You got a guy that had everybody want to be go out and be horticulturists or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Want to talk about plants and planting bulbs and roses and things of that nature and put them into a championship caliber team. Say what you want to say. You got to put him up there with the greats as far as coaching in one season, simply because he took guys old and new, got him to believe in one system, and right now is in the biggest game of his life.
I've never understood these awards when he was 3-0 against Brian Daboll.
Right.
Nick Sirianni was 3-0 against him. I know it's a regular season award. It should be an award for the whole year.
Right.
Because the whole object is in the playoffs. And we're taking a look right now at the Winnebago there. Hurts so good. You got Jalen Hurts,
That's
Miles
beautiful.
Sanders on that big Winnebago here in the parking lot.
They came here from Newfoundland, by the way.
Phillies Sports Grill. And we got another question here online. And the question is this the best Philly sports team you guys have covered? Now, that's a great question.
Wow.
Now, Michael Barkan, he was back there with Chuck Bednarik, 1960.
Way back, man, number
NFL
60.
championship.
Tommy McDonald and the Dutchman. That's right, Buck Shaw coaching them. Yeah, we're going to run.
At Franklin Field.
Franklin Field.
Boy, what a press
December
box they had,
26,
Michael Bates.
1960. You're right.
But it's interesting because I had this conversation with somebody, and somebody had said, who has seen like 40, 50 years of Philadelphia sports, they were saying maybe the only more talented team was the 1983 Sixers.
Or the 67 Sixers.
Or the 67 Sixers. But
yeah, I think they had single-digit losses or close to it. They were unbelievable. Wilt on that team.
Yeah.
But, you're looking at some of the Phillies teams, the 1980 Phillies champions. Certainly the 2008 team was great. The 2009 team was fantastic. The 2011 team was what was the one with the 5 aces?
Was the 08?
Right, but they
Phillies?
did not go anywhere.
Oh, you're right.
Like they bowed out early. So this is it the most well-rounded Eagles team you've ever seen, Barrett? The best overall collection.
It's the best overall collection of guys I've seen with superstars at each position. Those teams we're talking about had superstars sprinkled here and there. You have guys like, Allen Iverson, those guys on the teams he was on. You look at the Phillies, they had a bunch of guys on their team, like 3 or 4 guys on their team that were great. But this Eagles team has 2,000-yard receivers, 1,000-yard rusher, a quarterback that's both great at running and passing. Defensively, they have over 19 sacks by just one guy. 3 other guys with double-digit sack guy. We haven't had that many sacks ever. So, can I say that this is one of the most talented teams I've ever seen, that I've ever broadcast for? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But, collectively, there are some teams that might be better as far as the record, but nobody's better as far as the best collection of talent and what they've been able to accomplish this year.
Well, as John says, I guess you don't have to only qualify championship teams. And from that, in recent times, you'd have to go 74-75 Flyers, the 80 Phillies, the 83 Sixers. Although I would give a strong nod to the 87 Flyers. Took Wayne Gretzky's Oilers to 7 games before bowing out in the finals.
Okay, yep.
And they were with Rick Tocchet and Ron Hextall and those guys. But other than that, I think this is the best team on both sides of the ball. Most well-rounded, most superstars, most Pro Bowlers, and more importantly, most All-Pros, first and second team.
Yeah, and if you think about it, if they happen to win 2 Super Bowls over a span of 6 seasons, right? And you're talking about Lane Johnson, you're talking about Jason Kelsey, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Jake Elliott. If those guys have 2 Super Bowl championships within 5-6 year span, that might only rank behind the Philadelphia Flyers 2 straight cups in the 70s as champions, 2-time champions in a short window of time in Philadelphia sports history.
I think you're right, and I think the Flyers are so. It's almost they're like a picture or a photo that you framed to put on the walls. Like, did that happen? It's been a while for the Philadelphia Flyers, and unfortunately they're struggling now. But you look back to those times, Bobby Clark and Bernie Parent, that's a long, long time ago. You look at this Eagles team, the question is, can they sustain it? Can they sustain it? And with the exception of a team like the 85 Bears, where it really stands out big time, and you had Richard Dent and Doug Plank and Refrigerator Perry and Jim McMahon and Dave Dewar, and you got names that are household names. Will the Eagles have household names in 10 years from this team? Will they be able to put it together again? So in today's sports world, teams get ripped up in 2 seconds and a whole new team comes back the next year, and you can contend for a championship doing that way.
That's
so
the problem.
Can this team do it? Can they keep it together? They're going to lose. They're going to lose players next year. Let's face it.
Especially on
That's
defense.
what happens.
Especially on defense. Now, if I were to ask you what concerns you most about the Chiefs' offense, other than Patrick Mahomes, but you look at Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, they've got the second most quarterback to tight end touchdowns in NFL playoff history behind Tom Brady and Gronk. And then Kelce has, I believe, like 8 or 9 straight playoff games, 75 receiving yards or more. That's an NFL record. Does that worry you the most, Travis Kelce, or is it the running backs catching balls out of the backfield where Patrick Mahomes, he does such a great job now of dumping the ball off, and I believe Patrick leads the NFL in touchdowns to running backs. So which part of the Chiefs' offense concerns you guys the most?
Well, McKinnon, that he's the guy that he's receiving most of those touchdowns they've gotten from the running back position. I think he has like 9 receptions for touchdowns. That to me, that's what I've in my film study. That's the most explosive part of their game right now. If you look at it, Travis Kelce's a great player, but he's been averaging like 9-10 catches. But is he having a lot of success with those catches? He's averaging about 60 yards through a game. But you look at the running back position; those guys are so explosive. Pacheco, McKinnon, and now Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah.
I'm thinking in my head, they're activating him now. I think they will try to run the ball a little more, simply because Big Red doesn't want to get his quarterback knocked around from that defensive line rushing the passer.
Good point.
So I think they will be more into the game plan and incorporate it more into what they're trying to do as an offensive unit. So look for them to do a lot more 21 personnel. That's 2 running backs and 1 tight end, and using those guys out of the backfield, dumping passes off, getting the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands as fast as they can.
With respect to Travis Kelce, I've been quoting Chip Kelly all week, who said, one of the rare times, who said big people beat up little people.
Yeah.
And when you got a guy who's 6'5" and 250 and who runs like the wind, that means something. And tight ends come in all shapes and sizes. You can have a 6'1" tight end, 6'2", but you can have a 6'5". And you look at the tight ends throughout history that have been all Hall of Famers and all-timers, like Mark Bavaro, like Rob Gronkowski, and all the rest who are the best that have ever played. They're all sizable, and they're tough to bring down, and they're able to make the moves too, run after catch. And I think that's what makes Travis Kelce so dangerous. But also, Patrick Mahomes knows how to play that position just like Jalen Hurts does. He can get the running backs open. He can hit it to the running backs. As you just said, running backs have scored the most passing touchdowns in the NFL. That ain't nothing. And then there's Kelce. They can do it both ways. And by the way, there's a Penn kid who plays wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs, Justin Watson. And watch out for him, Juju Smith-Schuster. I don't know what his status is. I know he was dinged up,
He'll be good
but
to go.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, they got some receivers.
Yeah, and by the way, this is a good question coming from ROG. Have you guys seen any 2017 Eagle players around? And I got to tell you this. This is what I really think is great about Philadelphia sports. I was at a Rolling Stone party last night. I run into Darren Sproles.
Was Mick Jagger there?
Mick Jagger was not. I think they're talking about the magazines.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was the Rolling Stones. So wait.
That's like the famous Dick Vermeil quote.
Yeah,
where they introduced the band, the Rolling Stones, to Dick Vermeil, and he goes, "Oh, my son gets your magazine."
How about this with Dick Vermeil? 1976. It's his first year. They're having the bicentennial celebration, and it's anchored in Philadelphia. He's in his office getting ready for the season on July 4th. He's like, "What is all that noise?" They're celebrating the birth of the country.
That's how hard a worker Dick Vermeil was. But that's a great question, because I was talking to Darren Sproles, and he said he basically told the Eagles, and he was like, "I want to come here as a fan." He is going to sit in the stands at State Farm Stadium with the Eagles fans, because he wants to feel the vibe of what it's like to be an Eagles fan, because he, of course, was injured for the Super Bowl 5 years ago. But I thought that was so cool. And I've seen Malcolm Jenkins in town. LeGarrette Blount is in town. Chris Long, Bo Allen. They came and had big hugs for Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox at the team hotel. I think that's what's really cool, because you've got a lot of guys, Zach Ertz as well. Mm-hmm. They want so badly for the guys from the 2017 team to get another ring.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was cool that these guys are coming in here trying to experience this again, because that was so special in 2017.
Absolutely.
Yesterday, we have a family charity, who you well know. You've been so supportive. Barcamp Family Healing Hearts Foundation. We had a party out here at the Rock Bar in Scottsdale, and among others, Brent Selleck was there, and he had his championship. He had his Super Bowl ring on, and Eric Allen was there as well. Byron Evans, Mark McMillan. But there was just a special appreciation. Not that the other guys didn't do anything. Certainly Eric Allen might have been the best corner ever play for the Philadelphia Eagles. But Brent Selleck was special, and it's so cool. You know, I saw today at our hotel in the lobby. I'm talking to Billy Werndell, our pal, and who's Merrill Reese's spotter. And he was out there. He was in the lobby. And who walks up? Who do I see? Randall Cunningham.
Really?
And
Get out.
Yeah, hear that cheer for him?
Really?
You know it. Number 12. And it looked like he could still play. He looks great. His hair is pepper gray, but he looks phenomenal. And that's what happens when you play ball in Philadelphia and you're successful. Sometimes you don't always win the whole thing.
Gold standard.
But yeah, it's true. But you will always have a place in the hearts of Philadelphia sports fans.
Yeah, and this is another good question here. Patrick Harris, how does the vibe of this Eagles run to the Super Bowl compare to the Phillies World Series run last year? And I think that's a great question, because the Phillies World Series run, not that it came out of nowhere, because they did have the talent, but it took a while for them to get the talent together. And then it was just like, oh my goodness, they keep going. And yeah, they spent a lot of money, but that talent didn't gel at first. So it was kind of unexpected. So maybe it was like crazy fun. This team has dominated from the get-go, dominated from the beginning. So what is that like for a team when you have been the hunted basically all year and started off 8-0? Jalen Hurts is 16-1 as a starter. How is that it's basically the whole way you have dominated?
You know what? It's when you become the hunted, it's one of those situations where you step on the field and you know you physically beat them mentally already. They already know they're going to get beat. And that's the kind of the direction this team is starting to fall into, that teams know that defensive line is going to beat up on your quarterback. Teams know that defense is going to know they're going to have a hard day getting run all over for the entirety of the day. And once you start getting that mindset and you step on the field, you start thinking, and it becomes who you are as a team. You know, so when you can go up there and beat up on people like that, it really is a advantage for a team going into this. Now, going into this game, the Super Bowl, they still have that swagger about them. It's not an arrogance, but it's a confidence that they have going into this game, a confidence that their quarterback is going to play at a high level, a confidence that this defensive line is going to get after the quarterback. That confidence, you can't undermine how important it is to a defense. So if something does get shaky, they can always go back and they have that confidence and understanding how good they are and how good they've been.
The Phillies sputtered. They went in fits and starts. They brought in Castellanos. It looked like they were going to have the talent to compete, and then they would fall off. Then they'd win 10 games. Then they'd lose 5 in a row. And then Bryce Harper got hurt, and he could only DH. And so we really wondered. And then there was the added benefit of an extra wild card team, which they took full advantage of. So I thought the Phillies were blissful. The Phillies were absolutely unbelievable.
Well, apparently a Cowboys fan is here.
Yeah, we're hearing Dallas sucks.
Cowboys
chants.
fan has walked into Phillies Sports Grill here.
Don't
How about
harm
that?
him. Don't harm him or her.
By the way, I thought it was so cool. Micah Parsons said he is rooting for the Eagles.
You
I
can
thought
imagine that the other way around?
Oh,
are
Philly
you
would
kidding
not
me?
have that.
Imagine Josh Sweat says, I'm rooting for the Cowboys since my good friend Micah Parsons is on there. Boom.
They would have to trade him.
They would have to
And
trade
I
him.
talked to C.D. Lamb this week. He's rooting for Jalen Hurts because that was his Oklahoma teammate. But he's not rooting for the Eagles, of course.
Yeah, of course he's not rooting for the Eagles.
Can't
But
do that.
with the Eagles, and you guys know how difficult it is to do, the Eagles had the expectation of a championship. They did. Ron Jaworski said it on our postgame show. Barrett, you might have said it as well. But Jaws said it like week 5. He's like, this team's, if I'll be disappointed if this team doesn't go to the Super Bowl.
I've been
and I'm
saying
thinking,
the same
whoa.
thing.
You
Even
know?
when all you guys were thinking about how good this 49ers team was, I told you.
Yep.
I told you.
You did. But
I
how
said, keep that same energy.
But you know how difficult that is to do, to have the weight of expectation placed upon your shoulders collectively.
Jalen
and to
Hurts'
exceed
shoulders
it.
is big enough. Jalen Hurts' shoulders are big enough to carry any
Not
load.
just Jalen. I mean, you're right, Jalen Hurts, but my goodness, this team's got other stuff going for it.
right.
It's amazing, but they have done it. Here we are. No games after tomorrow. That's it.
I know. One.
There
more
is
to
no
go.
tomorrow.
There is no tomorrow.
There is no tomorrow.
Until they win, then there's a parade tomorrow.
I thought Barrett was going to hit us. He's getting so tired.
Yeah,
All
well,
right,
you
Ashley's
could.
out in the crowd with another
That's why you
Eagles
stuck
fan
me
with
in
a
the middle.
All right, guys. Russ has a very special question for our own Barrett Brooks.
All right, so listen, Barrett. I've seen you walking around the complex. You look like you're in playing shape. What happens if Landon Dickerson goes down? Can you step in?
Can you
Hey,
step in?
The only shape I'm in right now is round. That's all, okay? There's no way I'm getting on the field. I give you 1 or 2 plays, and that's it. Now, you pay me a little bit. My wife will make me go out there and play, I'm telling you. But
Yeah.
yes, and, I mean, no, Landon Dickerson will be all right. If he does go down, Dillard will come in. And that's the best thing about going to Stoutland University. One goes out, somebody else comes in with equal or more talent. So this team will be great. This will be great. Next
Yeah.
man up.
He got a scholarship to Stoutland, I heard. It's tough to do.
NIL.
NIL.
NIL. All right.
To Stoutland.
Let's get to the point in the program. Eagles fans are ready for this. Let's get your predictions for Super Bowl 57. I want each of your predictions. What's going to go down one day from now here in Arizona? I'll start with you, Barrett.
Less than 1 day.
You already know I'm the biggest homer in the world. But I'm going off analytics. I'm going off film study. I'm going off this team being the best team in the NFL. Eagles win 26-20.
26-20. All right. We got one W. Michael Barkan.
Well, John Clark and Barrett Brooks and all my good friends here at Philly Sports Bar and Grill, I think the Eagles are obviously going to win the game, but we have a pregame program on tomorrow, and I'm going to withhold my pick until tomorrow.
You can read mine.
Yeah. I can
read mine on NBC Sports Philadelphia.
Okay, well, they haven't asked me to do it, so I'm holding it
Mine
for our
is there.
show.
Yeah, you gotta
I'm
hold it,
holding
yeah.
it for our show.
Mine is already
I'm
there.
thinking something like 17-10.
17-10?
No, I'm not.
I didn't think so.
It's not even
I
close
didn't
to that.
think
Yeah.
so.
John was like, really? 17-10?
Didn't
No.
think so.
I think it's going to be a one-score game. I think it's not going to be as high a scoring game as we think. I don't think it's going to be like 42-40. The over-under for total points, all of a sudden I'm a gambler. The over-under for total points is 50.5. So, 30-20.
30-20.
I don't know. I'm thinking.
I asked Zach Ertz yesterday when I was interviewing him for my podcast, and he said, my prediction is 40-33.
Yeah, I heard. It was great. I saw that. That was so great.
It was close to 41-33, but he wanted to have that extra point.
There
for
you
that
go.
team
I'll
5
take it.
years ago.
I'll take it.
That's special.
By the way, as we wrap it up, I mean, the Eagles.
We're wrapping it up?
We're wrapping it
No.
up.
Okay.
Yeah. Right now, the Eagles could be having their team meeting. And I thought it was really cool where Nick Sirianni usually speaks to the team, or he has a captain get up there and speak as well, or in addition to. And he said, no, for this, I'm not going to speak. It's basically an open floor for any player that wants to come up and share something from the heart. And I got to tell you, from covering this team all year, they really are close, and they love playing games. They play ping pong. They were playing cornhole in the hotel, Nintendo Switch. They were playing Uno. They really are united. So do you think that's going to be a very, very special team meeting where guys can speak up?
No question. I mean, I went through the same thing when I won the Super Bowl. It happened to be Jerome Bettis' last year in the league. We were playing in Detroit, his hometown, and Joey Porter, Peasy got up and talked. Deuce Staley got up and talked. I mean, everybody, that there was special in his life as far as being the best running back on that team at the time. It was definitely like that. You know what I mean? It was definitely a special feeling listening to him.
I think that if you're in a room with your good friends, colleagues, teammates, and you're looking at each other, as you said when we did the NBC 10 Sports, they're looking each other in the eye and telling each other how much that they mean to each other and what this season has meant to each other and how that they are going to play for each other till the cows come home. I think that way outweighs a coach saying, come on, let's win one for the Gipper. It's way more effective, special, and something that will last a lifetime. One more thing, if I could ask you, and I have already, both of you, which is the coin toss. If the Eagles win, they're going to defer like they've been, and is that good with you, or should, because points are at a premium, it's the Super Bowl, you want to get on the board? If they win the toss tomorrow, should they take the ball first? Should they?
I want Hassan Reddick to get on the field and totally smash Patrick Mahomes.
He's thinking of Brock Purdy.
From the start,
he's thinking
indoctrinate him into Philadelphia football.
By the way, I thought the great thing about Nick Sirianni coming in here, connecting is his number one core value.
Mm-hmm.
I heard Miles Sanders the other day say, I want to win the Super Bowl for Lane Johnson so he gets his second. Guys are saying they want to win for Jason Kelsey. You especially see it with the offensive line, but this team really does want to win for some of their teammates, especially their veterans. So I just think this team is so connected. He is Barrett Brooks. He's Michael Barkan. I'm John Clark, and these are the best fans in the world.
You know it.
We are signing off from Philly Sports Grill in Scottsdale, Arizona. The Super Bowl is one sleep away. The Eagles could be getting their second Super Bowl in their team history. It is wild out here in Arizona. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Parade Thursday.
Parade Thursday. Okay, you heard it here.
Mercy.
Who am I? I'm the greatest. Who am I? I'm so flagrant.